we'll stop recording. He's going to be talking about Expo.
All right.
Move on.
We're going to talk about photosynthesis.
Much less exciting.
Isn't it? There's no aliens
This
here.
game is dynamic and exciting, and granted, it takes about 60 years to play out. But other than
game. I thought we were talking about the chemical process.
No, it's the same thing.
This is almost literally a game about watching the grass grow.
Yeah, it's about watching trees grow, and you know, games with time frames, usually the time frame is like even like city building games are like 10 years. The photosynthesis, this game probably takes place over 50 or 100 years, right? Blue orange, you're growing mighty oaks and mighty maples and mighty something or else's.
Well, hold on now, but the sun only makes 3 rotations.
Well, it's a metaphor. The trees grow.
I think they're genetically modified.
I think they're genetically modified
Maybe
too. Look at how
that's it,
blue those trees are. That's not
Yeah,
natural.
this is not a natural
So you're
color.
saying actually the real time the game covers is only an hour and 40 minutes or so.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
No,
the game-
I don't think Ed knows what he's getting in for, because we're literally here for the next 3 days. 36 hours, you cannot leave.
No, man. Well, let's do it. Bathroom
So-
breaks?
No.
At a tree outside.
So how old is photosynthesis? Is maybe 10 years old, give or take. It's by Blue Orange Games. It's a game, believe it or not, about growing trees. So there's a big grove in the middle of the board. That's what your board is. And the 4 different players are each growing a different species of tree. And you can go from seedlings to saplings to, I don't know, middle-aged trees, I guess you'd call them, to grand, mighty trees. And you can cut them to pick up points. So fundamentally, you're trying to get points. Is what
Hey, you don't cut them down. They complete their life cycle. Okay?
Wow.
Okay. So
I'm just saying
you push them over when the time comes.
With an axe.
they're naturally reclaimed. Look, they naturally
Paul, give it a
fall
break.
over time and their place is taken by new growth. It's a very natural process.
Yeah.
It's a very romantic vision of this game.
And I think, adding lumberjacks is not.
Smells like firewood. So
2017 is
2000.
when this game was copyrighted. It came out.
Wow, I would have
That's-
thought this was older than that, but that's fine. 2017.
No, that
Okay, so
sounds
it's
about
about
right.
5, so it's 5 or 6 years old. That's fine. So
It has that feel to it.
So the idea, and like I said, it's a blue orange game. It's kind of and there's nature games are kind of a thing right now. Games like Wingspan and the like. Suddenly, and people have kind of gotten into this nature stuff. And photosynthesis came out actually pretty early on that, and it's kind of a nice. It's a very pastoral sort of game, and essentially you're growing trees to score points, and if you let them grow up to their biggest, then you get the great big points. And if you
It's
pull
actually
them earlier,
the only way to get points.
no, well, if you pull them earlier, you can get smaller points too. So.
Yeah, doesn't it say that they have to be a level 4 tree to be able to
I
buy
don't know.
or
I haven't read
pull
the
them
rules
down?
in like
John's got a lot of house
10
rules.
years.
Yeah.
Sam, you've played this game before?
I think so. Yeah, you can only remove large trees for points.
Okay.
I am mentally conflating this with another game we played with the flashlight.
Yeah,
you
with the little
remember?
lantern,
and
the
the
shadows. Yeah.
Yeah. That was pretty cool.
It was a pretty cool game. It's not one you play every week, but
No.
maybe we need to
what
bring
was
it out at
that
the May
called?
Game-a-thon.
What was that called?
Hide in the Shadows,
Something
May.
like that. You actually set up this board with all these big cutout trees on it, and you would actually turn off the lights and move around, and one player had to go out of the room while everybody else took their
the worst
turn.
part about it was that you had to leave the room.
Yeah.
So basically, for like 5 or 6 minutes each round,
Somebody was just off
somebody's
doing
just off
something
in
else.
another room by themselves,
But
not
then-
doing anything.
But then they'd come back and you'd turn the lights off, and they'd
they'd have a little lantern.
They'd have a little lantern, and they could choose where to move it, and they'd turn it on.
Have
and
you
if
played this game?
If your guy was illuminated in the shadows, then you were out.
But it's basically the same with trees, so that's
Should
why
we
he's
talk
getting
about
confused.
XCOM next?
This is an XCOM world. Sorry.
All right.
It was a pretty cool game. Maybe we'll bring that out and do it at a May Game-a-thon.
It's similar in my mind because you have the tree cutouts. You're concerned about how the light is falling among
Yes,
them.
I understand that.
Thematically, it's very similar.
All right.
Are we ready to go?
I think we're ready to go, and we can talk about some of the other mechanical aspects after we're done playing when we've all remembered a little
Has
bit.
I'm
anyone
going to
more about how this is
apologize
supposed
ahead
to
of
go.
time in that I'm going to try to work in as many Monty Python jokes and a Billy Madison reference if I can at some point during this recording.
So
Yeah.
he dresses in women's clothing
Hang around the bars?
and hangs around in bars.
Has anyone played this before?
Yes.
I have played it once. I believe I got
played it when
soundly
it came
beaten
out a
by
couple of
Steven.
times.
Okay, so you're
Yeah.
familiar with it.
This is Steven's copy of the
I
game.
feel like I've played this before, but
Yeah. Do you have any strategy hints for us?
No,
John?
I don't remember it that well.
All right.
So I remember enjoying it.
John said he enjoyed it, so I don't like it.
Heard. Timber, let's go.
All right. So we have finished, and we have cut the trees, and at the end we sort of clear cut the forest. But that's part of the game, isn't it?
It's an interesting game, I think.
So this is a no luck game, right?
Yeah.
There's no surprises anywhere in this game, which is odd for a game that kind of has a family theme and is sort of geared in that direction.
It was an oddly intense game to start with, and it did kind of like drag in the middle. I felt like, where it's like, okay, well,
you start getting to tree maintenance, for lack of a better term, but you're kind of grinding your forest and you're doing your thing, and each tree, depending on how it lays out. There are times you want to keep that big tree. Obviously, you want to score the bigger points. And when you harvest a tree early, you get a couple extra points out of it, and that's always good news. But at the same time, that's how you're generating your photosynthesis, because your photosynthesis is your energy. That's what you work with.
It's interesting how you're building your engine by growing the bigger trees, but you have to chop those or remove those to get points.
Your points, and that's the rub in the game. That's the two pieces that rub against each other.
Yeah, you kind of have to wait for them to, they're an investment. You have to wait for them to make enough sun points to replace themselves before you remove them.
And you guys, just a question: that for half of the turn of the sun. So when you play this game, the sun essentially goes around the board in a circle, or the sunlight goes around the board in a circle. And I had most of my trees over on my side of the board here, and so I had this patch where things would be really good because my trees were on the outside edge where the sun was, so that all of them were paying dividends. Even my little trees were paying dividends. And then they would swing around the other side of the board, and I'm like, okay, this is my lean time, and I'm just playing to break even on this. And did you guys run into the same thing?
Oh yeah, I mean
No.
it's
No,
you didn't.
No.
I
No.
did for sure.
well, because you guys were all I stuck over here by myself for most of the game, where you guys bunched up in the middle.
But was it paying when the sun was on the opposite side of the board?
Because you guys were all over here bunched up.
Yeah.
So we were far enough away.
Yep.
That even with the big trees,
Well,
you had open
say
space.
that, but the last
three
go around, you made nothing because of where the trees were.
Well, because we had spread out into his area to
and
block
you
it.
had harvested your big tree.
Right, and so I made a critical error harvesting one of my big trees, which was going to reduce my income. But I was like, at this point, we just need to start cutting the trees down.
Mm-hmm.
Right, I wanted to try to get as many high value things as I could, because there was only a couple rounds left.
Yeah.
And then Chris put a big tree in the middle,
Dead center,
and then another tree somewhere else, and wiped out all my productive capacity with like 3 turns left. So I just sat with 0 points for like 3
Yeah,
turns.
because for a while you looked like you might run away with it.
Right.
I mean, you were rocking and rolling, and we were kind of still trying to play and pull our pieces together.
My strategy to start on both sides of the board did not pan out. I was struggling very hard at the very beginning.
And you know what I found, and I don't know if this is a good strategy or not, but it worked for me. By having my trees kind of all together, I could build the heights so that for the most part they weren't blocking each other.
Yeah.
And since I have those spots, you guys can't get in there and muck with it.
Right. Well, the problem that you didn't have was that my trees weren't over there to block you. So most of the time going around, you were consistently getting 6 to 8 even, and I didn't have the height to block you. And you really pays to be like in a quadrant by yourself and kind of spread out.
Right, because then you can manage that part of the forest so that you're getting the maximum points. You can
getting the maximum
this tree
point,
medium,
but also you got to block the guy next to you.
Yeah, yes, but I could decide that too.
You once you got those big trees out, you were blocking everything of mine. When it went around to the other side, your trees were, and you were like, I'll get points. It blocks, and I mean, it wasn't bad. I mean, that's what you got to do. You got to screw your neighbor.
Yeah, and especially when the sun was swinging on this side, it made absolutely no sense. So I was the first to harvest a tree, and it was in the 3 ring, the ring close to the middle. I didn't get the middle. Never got it shot near the middle.
I gave you a shot.
Oh, at the very end. At the very end. I didn't have time to grow a tree.
Calculated that you couldn't grow it to a full-size tree.
So that's how it goes. But that's fine. And even that ring with the 3 leaves, which is the second most valuable, I got one tree into that, and then you guys filled it, and it was all seedlings. And I'm like, okay, so I got to make it work on the outside. But of course, when you work on the outside,
you still have 2 of those tokens.
Yes,
right. So
towards the end, I managed to get a second one in there.
I'm just saying. So hold on, you have 2. I have 2,
and the middle,
and the middle.
Yeah,
I got 1.
You have 1 of the 3 leaves. Chris has none.
So did you guys just leave trees in there? Because I did not get opportunity.
Sam had that like boxed in
with
his seedlings for like most of the game.
I boxed them in for most of the game. That was very intentional. But John, you got as many of the 3-leaf tokens as I did.
I got 2.
And I also got 2. And so were there only 5?
Well, I harvested both of my trees that I got in there.
I think there were only 5. So I mean,
so I
you
can't
had
complain then.
Yeah, you can't complain
because I got that first tree in early, and then late in the game I managed to get one in and grew it real fast and got it back off so that I could get the points for it.
I did harvest one in there, but all of them were gone, so I took the next one down.
Yeah. So but working around the outside, I mean, the inside ring is more valuable, so that it kind of calls out to you. But you tend to get blocked more in that inside. When you're playing on that outside edge, you don't have as much between you and the rest of the world.
I thought you had an excellent strategy, John, with keeping that big
on that very outside edge. Which,
that paid dividends for a while.
Yes, because nothing can block a big tree on the outside
right.
edge.
Well, and you controlled that there was nothing over here on this other side because that was sort of like my area,
so
and then you owned the other corner, so there was no way to block it.
Yep. So, and the only way you can block it is by coming out this way. Even on the far side, you had to be. There was maybe 1 or 2 rows that might block it,
right,
and it just didn't work. So yeah, that ended up being all right because, like I said, the bigger points are in the middle of the board, but the outside edge of the board is easier to generate energy with. Mm-hmm. So that's the heart of the game. As your trees are generating energy, that's the energy you use is how you grow other trees. So you need that energy production in order to make it work. And like I said, there is 0 luck in this game. Everything is laid out. There's less luck in this game than in chess. Chess, you at least got a 50-50 shot of going first or last. This game, it's well, Sam is always our youngest player, so he gets to go first. But other than that,
Cody's here.
If Cody is here, okay, fair enough. But
either way, I don't think going first is an advantage in this game.
Not particularly.
I thought
got him to the center.
No, that was not the first turn. That was turn 2 or 3.
He gets to start sprinting forward first.
But somebody could have beaten me there.
Well, could have. Either way, you couldn't get to the middle until the second or third go around.
Go around.
Right, so I mean, first in each individual round.
That's true, and you know the way the turn order works with it passing each time.
Yeah, I think
it could be somebody else would be first.
I think going first guarantees that I couldn't because
but
the first turn. Well,
because we all made an error.
Well,
could be
because you didn't prioritize it. But so the first turn you have trees on the outside ring,
right,
and you could put a seed into the next ring on the second turn. Third turn you could turn that into a tree. Fourth turn, you put a seed in the. So you're not putting a tree into the middle until like turn 5 or 6.
No, turn 3. You can get a seedling. You can grow it, and then you're in. So okay, fourth turn it'd be your earliest I get there. So, but you managed to get there first.
I did, and it didn't matter a huge amount.
No, and what happened is it's the mimering effect. You want to be the guy in the biggest, fast, be the monster guy there. Everybody's going to come at you. So suddenly we're growing big trees around you, and as that tree in the middle is trying to grow up, we're shading it. We're putting trees in of equal size.
I remember I went from getting like 6 or 8 or 9 sun power, whatever we want to call it,
energy,
turn,
I guess, yeah.
Energy points, and then it was like, and then I'm getting 3 or 4, and that was interesting because for most games like this, your engine scales up consistently.
Yeah, and in this game, you get
with having to cut the trees down, it really moderates.
Well, even
I think John, the reason he won was because he did the best at energy production. He was consistent throughout the whole time.
Yeah, and I churned my trees.
So you were a little more 8 points.
But and to be fair, in order to churn your trees, you need 8 points because you need to be able to get that tree back out. So you don't want to be cutting trees down until you got a spot to put them next.
Yeah, that was a key synergy we hit on: cutting down your having enough energy to cut down a big tree and then immediately bring it back.
Get it back in play.
Your play.
And beyond even the cutting down trees, because you're right, you can, if you have enough saved up, you can just replace it, and so you're not actually losing a ton. Well, you're still losing energy production, but you manage to recoup a little bit of it. the main issue, the thing I noticed was when the board got full, suddenly everyone was making less energy. And it was really noticeable. I felt like where we went from like when the board was like half full, 2/3 full, everyone was making a bunch of energy.
Yeah, all your trees were paying off.
Yeah, and then it's like, we're gonna squeeze a little bit more out of it, and suddenly everyone's production dropped.
Well, which was the opposite at the end. My production finally boosted.
Yeah, you had a big finish.
Well, you
got all those trees.
Yeah, you basically had every
bank.
tree on the board, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah, but half of those were small and mediums, and that's where when you get to the middle of the game, when you're getting into season 2 and season 3, you're trying to grow 5 or 6 trees all at the same time, and it's tough to keep them all. Towards you get towards the end of the game, it's like, okay, here are my 2 winners. These are the 2 that I can still get to a big tree and cut before the end of the game because I got this many turns left, and that's what it's going to be.
I mean, I stopped planting at the end of the game.
Yeah, me too.
Right? I mean, actually, you can see I haven't taken any pieces off the board yet. I had 2 small trees and a seedling left after I chopped down the big ones.
Yeah, and I stopped planting. I'll be honest with you, I stopped planting about halfway through the game.
Just
maybe 2/3.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have the energy to spare for it.
Yeah,
I did the exact same thing. Stopped planting about halfway through because I had plenty of trees on there, and I'm like, I can cut them all down. And then that killed me when I hit that terrible patch where you put up a couple trees, and I cut down my big tree, and then I had no little trees to like make up for the shortfall. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so
you better bring your mic.
So turn order sort of felt like, I mean, it's hard for me to complain when I won the game, but Sam seemed to be leaving really nice nuggets for people. When he harvested, when he was getting his points, I'm like, ugh, I want that spot.
Well, he was the first one to get to the center.
And he's to my left, and I'm like,
I would disagree because I was to his left, and I didn't get to take advantage of anything he had.
No, I thought you did great. And the one time it was when the turn order skipped and Chris got the center.
Chris got the center. Okay.
So that was just a bad break because of the way that turned out. But I kept waiting.
What a coincidence that the guy who was running away with it didn't get the opportunity to grab the center.
Yeah.
At that time, you were sitting over there with a big stack of points.
Yeah, it looked like we weren't going to be able to stop him.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was not accidental.
Well, it was well done.
Yeah, but I kept looking at Chris like, would you harvest some trees? Keep growing. Get your big ones out there. And it just...
I felt like I was struggling the whole time to try and block you some because I left and went over to Sam's side, and I didn't do enough over here to keep you from getting points.
To keep me from getting points. Right. I had this third of the board, kind of, and I could grow my trees so that they wouldn't block each other. So the entire time the sun was swinging by this side of the board, I was getting points, and I kept kind of eyeballing, one eyeball going over to your points, and I'd see you'd have a 5, and I'm like, ooh, I can't do much with 5. I've got 8 and 10, which means I can harvest a big tree, I can get another tree out, I can do that sort of thing. So,
my motor got running at the end, but you can call me Johnny Appleseed because I planted every tree I had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which I think is
it was getting me lots of points at the end.
The point of the game, right? Because you had a lot of energy, but the point of the game isn't to have a lot of energy. The point of the game is to have a lot of victory points.
Yeah,
I understand that.
And
for you, it was a victory for me because I saved the planet.
Green in the world.
So I'll tell you, if you're going to take a picture of your game, take the picture in the middle of the game because the board is really pretty in the middle of the game because everybody's planted their trees.
Yeah, and it feels kind of weird, doesn't it? That throughout the whole, your goal isn't to grow trees, your goal is to remove them, and so at the end of the game, the field's barren again.
Yeah, and at the beginning of the game, I'm saying you cut down your trees to get points, and you're like, no, that's not how it works. And I'm like, I seem to remember a chainsaw the last time I played. I mean, it's taking your big trees and you're dropping them.
Thematically, it feels odd, right? The name of the game is Photosynthesis. It has all this nice, pleasant artwork and a real sense of what a lovely forest
thing
glade.
to do. Yeah, but
and then it's like, oh, the game's over and the grove is empty again because
we buzzed everything down.
And
halfway through the game, when we took a short break, and I was I live in the middle of farmland, and I was joking that my neighbor, the lazy SOB, he just runs the tractor over his fields, drops some seeds, and 4 months later, he's got all this free food, and how unfair that is. And fundamentally, that's what we did here. And obviously that was a joke, but at the end of the game, everybody's like, get my last couple of trees big and cut them. So, and the board was decimated at the end of the game.
Yeah. Somebody asked the question, is like, do you get points for trees at the end of the game?
Yeah.
No,
the answer is no.
No, I know, but
you got to cut them.
Which feels
wrong.
odd,
well,
thematically, right? Like, it doesn't quite...
So maybe the game should have been called Lumberjack, at which point it would have made perfect sense.
And that'd be okay.
It would have, and that'd be fine, but it's not. The game's called Photosynthesis. It's all about growing and cultivation, and actually,
but you could argue that cultivating includes harvesting.
Well, you could, but
proper forest management.
It turns out that
the clear cut at the end, I wouldn't necessarily call it proper forest management, but
it turns out that you get points for removing the forest, not for having a forest.
Yes, exactly.
And I think that's the misconnect in my mind, is that you don't actually get any points for having a forest.
It's you don't play Wingspan where you shoot the birds and mount them in order to get points.
It's weird.
The only time you use photosynthesis is for your. I mean, that was the energy that you got to do what you needed to do.
And that's the growth of the forest. And, my farmer uses photosynthesis all the time. He just says it doesn't have to do anything for it to happen. His cornfield just soaks up the sun and produces corn out of it, and that's what the trees are doing as well. And at some point, he, just like a lumberjack, harvests what he planted. So we planted trees.
Kind of reap what you sow.
It's downright Old Testament, Chris, is what it is. You put your trees in the ground, and then you come back in a few years and you cut them down.
But it feels, part of the weirdness to me is that because even the blurb in the introduction, it talks about how it's when a tree reaches the end of its life cycle, you win points. And it's like, okay, so clearly...
Why were John's trees growing so much faster than mine? They were genetically engineered.
The end of its life cycle includes when it's no longer attached to its roots.
Well, yeah, but I mean...
Because it's been cut down.
But, okay, it's been a while since I saw The Lion King, right? But the circle of life is the dead things nourish new life.
Yes, that's
unless you're a hyena, and then you're kept in the code.
And that doesn't happen here, right? A tree gets removed, and now you have less growing potential than you did before.
And one could argue that on these chips where it shows cute little leaves, they could put like pieces of furniture or lumber,
they
or firewood. And looking at it because you place these chips down in order highest to low. So if you harvest early, in theory you get more points. Now, you do get more points according to the official way the rules are written out. But I could see this game where you could take the ones for each of the different rings. There's 4 rings in the game.
Yeah,
and you could shuffle those up and turn them upside down, so that you don't know exactly what you're getting. That might add a little luck to the game.
I'm not sure that would
not as good as much wood.
I'm not 100% sure that would matter too much, to be honest.
Yeah, just a thought.
Yeah, I mean,
you're right. It
would break up the scramble for the middle. The middle would no longer be as clearly valuable.
I assume you'll
the
still have
middles
them
are
in
22,
categories,
21,
right?
and 20, right?
So the middle's still going to be more valuable than anywhere else.
Oh, so you're not shuffling them all up?
No, you're not shuffling them all
no,
up. You're still shuffling per ring.
Gotcha.
It's just you no longer
I
know
like
if
Ed's
it's...
idea. Shuffle them all up.
You no longer know if it's more valuable to harvest
then you're
immediately
really
or
trees. you're just on a
We're just
mad
all on the
cut.
outside.
Yeah.
Why is anybody growing anything on the inside?
No,
I don't need it.
Just don't matter. Yeah.
I've got my row of 4 trees, and they just grow up, and we knock them down.
And that's the one thing is it would defuse the friction in the game, because good game is when 2 things are kind of vying for your attention, and in this, being on the outside is an advantage from an energy perspective, but it's a disadvantage regarding your points. Getting to that middle picks you up 3, 4, 5 points more. If you're the first guy into the middle, you get a 22 chip, as opposed to the outside, which has 12s, 13s,
I think it dropped by
things like
2
that.
every time, didn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that middle, and they only give you 3, because that middle might get... if the middle goes again, you start pulling from the next ring out. You always pull from the next ring down. But that middle ring is kind of real popular. People want to get there. They want to plant a big tree there, and because of where you are, you kind of shadow big long stretches on the board by being there. So there's a real advantage to staying there for a little bit and get your money.
I think there's a very big element of board control that we sort of experimented with early on, and then it sort of fell off. And then at the end of the game, it was really about everywhere. Where do you have your big trees to block everyone else's sun, to cut down the trees?
Yeah.
But early on, you guys were just in a battle royale on the outer edges. And it was only Sam and I trying to
work that center.
Work the center and control the territory.
And I hadn't considered, but there is. I hate to call it area control because that's not really exactly what it is. But it's
positional.
Area influence, I guess, is
because there's no way to remove someone else's pieces.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So
you can just neutralize
I claimed half of the middle ring.
Right, and didn't do anything with it for half the game.
I didn't do anything with it. I just had my seeds sitting there, and nobody else could do anything with it because there's no way to remove other players' pieces. So they were mine. I reserved those spaces. Thank you.
Yeah, but you weren't blocking with them. They were just off the market.
And
right, but that limited my expansion because it was especially in my area where I had my little quarter of the board, third of a board. And so I was like, all right, well, and that's where I started just cutting trees down to do something with my space.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's
worth getting one big and getting it cut down in order to get the points.
I mean, it does add a barrier, right? Because you need a medium-sized tree to jump two spaces away.
To go that distance. Yep.
And so it does create a barrier. It's one you can circumvent, but you have to invest in that.
Well, and that's what I discovered. A couple of times I stood up so I could look down because the trees are very pretty. The pieces on this game are these little, these fold things, where you slide the two pieces of cardboard together, and all the trees
with
are pretty.
Unknown tree.
What kind of pseudo three-dimensional?
Yes, and I'm the orange. I'm trying to figure out. I don't recognize the
I got
seeds
the mighty
from my
Scots
tree.
pine.
I believe you're a maple.
No, I'm not. You're a maple. You're the green. You've got the maple seeds.
I'm the mighty oak.
Yeah, I've got something that's got like a berry on it, so I'm gonna have to look that up because I like to think I'm Joe Boy Scout. I should know, and I don't, so I'm sort of embarrassed about that. But anyway, so you end up start working around the outside edge. You had that middle ground, and I'm like, well, it's not happening. So I just got to get one more chip than everybody else and hope that pays. And so yeah, it's interesting and very pretty on the table. But like I said, at the end of the game, when we're all starting to harvest, I mean, I'd be willing to bet in the last couple of turns, each of us took at least 2 trees down for a total of 8 that came off the board. Really, at the end of the game.
Speak for yourself.
Removed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what got us to catch up. But yeah, I think I removed at least 4.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad. It was an interesting mechanic. I'm just not sure it really matched the theme of the rest of the game.
You have a problem with the chainsaw part.
I do have a problem with the chainsaw part.
Yeah, well,
it feels out. It just feels out of place.
It doesn't. I think the game kind of gives you this pastoral sort of feel, but in real life, you're cutting down your trees.
Yeah, I actually think it is Sam's interpretation is right. It's the tree falling over in the forest.
That's
and giving birth.
Giving
birth to new life. And that's why you're getting the points.
But like mechanic and the way the mechanic feels is like you're going in there with a chainsaw.
Right.
Yeah, because
it doesn't feel like the tree's falling over and
you
creating
feel like
space
you're planting
for new
a
life.
tree, and you feel like you're nurturing a tree.
Right, but you have to pay to destroy it.
But those are active verbs. Those are things you're doing to it, and then at the end you're like, well, now I need to just let it pass on.
Now I'm going
on
to
exactly
kill a tree.
Yeah, I need to pass on exactly my timetable. So it's almost like you're like little tree gods, controlling how the forest
and I
works.
think
nymphs.
And the other thing is you're paying to kill the tree, right? You score victory points,
True.
but those are useless for helping the rest of the forest grow, right? I mean,
that would be an interesting dynamic. That if you took down your tree, all the trees around it went up.
Bumped up one.
Well, I mean, that's like I said, that's the whole. It's the circle of life, right?
Right.
Like the tree falls, it rots, and now the soil gets a boost, and everything else grows.
This game needs a little bit more. Maybe some event cards. There's a fire, or you gain mulch, or something like that.
It would be interesting if there were like around in the outer ring, if there were these big rocks or something that acted as blockers. That could be interesting.
So
now we're making a new
version 2,
right?
Could be way more.
If you're listening.
But that's what we always do. I mean, we always
blue orange,
Hjalmar Hach.
Sure. Blue orange, yeah, and they're
we'll let Adrian.
They're a
say
smaller
that
producer. They're one of the producers that what's his name Asmodee has not purchased yet, and they've got some great kids games, and they make some real nice chunky games. This one is cardboard, but it's very pretty, and I got a copy of this. I think when it came out, I got it as a gift, and I'm like, it's not a game I would have ever purchased. But at the same time, the few times I've played it, I'm like, yeah, that's actually okay. And I've done okay at it. Last time I seem to recall Steven kind of crushing us, but
he did. And I didn't remember. I mean, I played it one time before. I played it again. So hopefully the next time I remember is the kind of like the order of building your trees.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to spread out as much as I could, and that was bad because I got blocked a lot.
Yeah, because your trees were smaller.
When you spread out, you don't have control over who your neighbors are.
And you need to get a couple of trees at least to medium so that they get a chance at sunlight in a crowded place. Yeah. So
And
I think that's the other part of it.
aspect.
So
it's definitely an interesting game. But
do we call it? I mean, want to give it a number rating?
yeah, I think we should start with that. John, you won, right?
I did. I won by a little bit. I essentially won by one more chit. I harvested
You
one more
harvested
tree.
one more tree.
Excuse me. I had one more of my trees naturally die on its own in the forest than anybody else.
Isn't it? It's kind of proper that the youngest started, but the elder.
I had more elderly trees. It would only make sense. My
Wise
trees won the
Sure.
game. Yeah, there's
Maybe a few more years on
Tolkien
there,
in there
Sam,
somewhere.
you'll understand.
Let's all be condescending to the young guy.
Yes. How many points did you get, Chris?
Ooh. Yeah, because you were in second place, right?
I was in second place by a fair margin.
Yeah, we were kind of out ahead, and they kind of were not. So
Must be just those few years of experience.
I had like 85 points.
That must have, yeah.
I had about a chit ahead of you. I think it was 95.
I was 106, was it? 105? They're still sitting here if you want to
100
look.
something.
Yeah, because I got no points off of my board. So, it's been a long time since we played this. And first of all, I had forgotten how pretty it was on the table. It's real easy to learn. I mean, we reviewed the rules in a couple of minutes, and there's a couple of things where I was kind of not fully understanding everything I was doing.
I think the rulebook could use another page.
The rulebook could use another page. That's fair enough.
Clarify, because we spent a lot of time figuring out turn order.
We managed to figure it out. But
We're probably playing it wrong.
But
Probably.
This was fun. It's a brain burner. It's a true Euro. This is not, you're not rolling dice. You're not swinging for the fences. I mean, don't pull those apart. They stay assembled. So I think this is a strong 7. I'd like to get this game out again. Far sooner than we have been doing. This game has gone a long, long time between getting pulled out. And
When did you say the last time we played was?
I did not look it up. I can look it up while you tell us your score, Chris.
Well, I came in last, so I will tell my story last. Let's go to Sam.
So I came in second, and I think I have played this game before, and my feelings on it haven't really changed.
Except for the tree buzzing part.
Nah, I felt the same way the first time too.
Oh, okay.
And I have to admit, John, I'm one of the reasons why we don't play this game more regularly, perhaps, because it's not one of my favorites.
Is it a race to see who can chop down the most trees?
Yeah, it's a race to see who can chop down the most trees. I don't like racing games,
This is not a racing game in any way, shape, or form. I have, by the way, I've listed May 13th, 2018 as the last time we played.
Yeah, no, this doesn't click for me. I don't know. I don't enjoy it. I don't like the kind of up and down where you build your engine and then you tear it down, and it doesn't fit. And I know I harped on the mechanics and the theme not meshing well for me, but that really is a big deal. Like, because
that can make or break an enjoyment of any game.
Yeah,
if there's something there that's jarring, it's going to throw you off.
And it doesn't always bother me. It's just that the theme is really good here. And the mechanics are pretty good for like 80% of it. And then it's just that last bit throws me off. So, yeah, I mean, it's well done. It's very pretty. I'll give it a 7, but not one that I would, I think, put on the table myself.
Hmm?
I don't pine for the forest the way that Sam
I'm pretty
does.
sure Steven would put you into the penalty box as of right now.
No pun. This is a no pun zone.
Oh man, I have so many puns lined up. I've been thinking about it the whole time.
This is what you get for. I was trying to make a branching out for our podcast members would fit in there.
He's
but
gonna edit all of this out.
Well, anyway, not to get all sappy, but I thought this was a nice, pretty game. You know, it could probably be spruced up in a couple places with new events like you mentioned, Chris.
I'm pretty sure he was being sarcastic.
No, I was actually talking it. I could feel some type of event or something that would kind of change the game. Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Mm-hmm. That is like the number one Ameritrash edition is like miniatures and random
disasters.
Event decks. It really is, though, isn't it? Yeah. We need something random to happen.
Yeah. Gypsy moths come through. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, there's a horribly invasive species. They eat all of the orange unnamed trees.
I think you could handle it if you built it into the mechanics itself. You build in some additional things like sort of we talked about how
it's not a Euro anymore.
That's okay. Everything's gonna be its own.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
So Ed, get back to
it. Being a lumberjack. It's okay.
Ed, getting down to your scoring. I mean,
so I'm gonna
Paul Bunyan comes through.
I'm gonna say that I like this. It's 7 for me. 7.
All right.
It sounded like a pained 7.
It's a more solid 7. Solid 7.
All right, I guess that leaves me. I tend to agree more with Sam on this one. This is not a game that I would probably pull out on the table unless I think it was more cutthroat this time than I remember playing it last time.
Oh, no. I remember last time being...
Was I in on that game? I mean, I remember playing with Steven, and Steven just dominated us.
Yeah, Steven being in the middle, and we were literally trying to tear his tree down in the middle of the I was hoping,
I think I borrowed this from Steven to hopefully play it with the family, because I thought it would be a fun family game. It's pretty, it's colorful. I enjoy it. I'm not going to turn it down if somebody else wants to pull it out on the table, but it's not going to be in my wheelhouse of games that I want to say, hey, let's try this one again. So I'm going to stand pretty firm.
I'm not sure it feels terribly family friendly.
Now that we played it again,
I think
probably,
you're right.
Probably saved some relationships.
Yeah.
Happily married.
I think you're right. I had thought it was a family game as well. And I think I even mentioned that. But now after playing it, I'm like, there's a fair amount of heads down in this. There's not a lot of jovial.
Oh yeah, you're screwing over somebody at every turn.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it you a lot of games you can coach. Even if you know what they're doing, you can say, well, if you want to do this, you can do this. If you want to do that, if you want to screw your mom, you can do this. If you want to stick it to your sister, you can do that. Whatever. In a game like this, you don't want to tip your hand at all, because you're like, well, I really need him to not make that tree bigger. So I think from that perspective, you're right. I don't think it's a game you can coach very well. So I don't think.
I think somebody at this table tried to coach, table talk, and it didn't work.
That's not coaching.
Well, Ed was going, it doesn't make any sense. You need to chop that tree down.
Yes.
Oh, you got to do this.
Oh, no, but
I don't think anybody ever listened to you.
That's not
at once.
coaching.
But
that's manipulating.
No, it didn't matter to me. You were on the complete opposite side of the map.
Yeah, to a large extent, we kind of did not really bother each other much.
It didn't matter to me. I was telling that. I mean, granted, it worked out for you, but at the same time, you had that.
Yeah, once in a blue moon, we would have a tree that interfered with the other, but not very much.
No, my advice to you was not attempting to manipulate or coach you at all. It was or not, no nefarious methods at all. The only nefarious people would have been Chris.
You're going to stick with, right?
That's what he's trying to stick with.
I would have tried to get Chris to do something I didn't want him to do, but he did it anyway.
So Chris, I don't think we got a
fun end to the game, wasn't it, Ed?
Mm-hmm. I know. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed getting no energy.
Did you actually get no energy
for 2 turns? I got no energy.
That's why I kind of snickered at the end. I was like, "Wow, if I put that tree there, he's going to get 0."
Yep. And I did.
That will slow you down.
It did.
Yeah.
May have cost me the game.
I don't think I ever got 0. I had a few turns in the middle there where I only got 1 or 2, and that was rough.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think John did the best with energy.
Once we got rolling, I think my lowest was 5.
Yeah. So I think my lowest and my highest was probably about a 7. So we'll just stick with that.
All right.
All right. So this is Photosynthesis. Blue Orange Games came out about 2017, 2018, and this I think we had a good time. We'll probably have to come back to this one at some point.
Yeah, in 5 years. I think it was.
Let's go
We'll
for
see.
three.
Maybe it's something we bring out at the Gameathon. Yeah, there's enough people there that
Let's go for
four
three.
can play it if they want
All right,
to.
we'll
and somebody
bring
can
it to
play
the May
something different.
Gameathon.
Yeah,
And,
but
We'll
you
play
know,
Civilization. They can play Photosynthesis.
That's fine.
I mean, keep in mind, between us, we own probably 300 different titles. So if we play one a week, that means we only get to repeat a game every 6 years.
We don't own 300 titles.
Look
to your
I
left.
own 100.
Look to your
You
left.
actually own 100.
Yeah.
I would not doubt that there are
and look at those
300
walls and
titles
that table
between
over there.
Yeah.
The people
I mean,
in this
if you look into
podcast.
the
I
game
think
vault over
300
there.
is a very reasonable estimate for the number of different games we
I'm
own.
going to go count how many games Chris has down here.
Right?
Okay. I'll give you the passcode. You can go into the vault, check it out. All right, so I think we're going to wrap things up
I
with
think that's
Ed
it.
singing a couple. How many verses do you know of "I'm a Lumberjack" and "You're Okay"?
I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay. That's it. That's all I know.
I sleep
You don't know
all
the part
night
about
and I
putting on
work
women's
all day.
clothing and hanging
No.
around
And
in
then you have the
bars.
mountains.
No.
Oh, he's a lumberjack.
And he's okay. Sleeps all night.
Chris,
and he
you
works all
can
day.
put on women's clothing in your own time. All right.
All right, we're going to cut that.
Off we go.
Somehow it tells me I don't think we are.
No, we did not.
That was your cunning plan.
I don't even know what I'm still
And
trying to
we're
figure out.
live.
I'm trying to figure out what the goal was.
So that's XCOM, baby.
John's trees just all died.
Well done.
You know, I
playing
actually-
Photosynthesis, my
Cut
cheese
that
got
for us.
knocked over.
I actually have the XCOM board game.
I've always. Is it good?
I really enjoy it.
Now at this point,
Please
are we,
don't ask him about the XCOM board game.
at this point, are we recording?
Yes, we are
I
recording.
really
Okay.
enjoy the. You have to use a phone app,
Okay.
but it's a lot of fun.